You know, it's not hard to see why people flock to the Tail of the Dragon every single year. It is a road that's nestled in one of the most beautiful parts of this country, and it boasts 318 curves and 11 miles. Each one of those curves offers something different. There's plenty of pull-offs so you can enjoy the scenery, and then once you get down to the end at Deal's Gap, you're like, all right, I slayed the dragon, you know, so it's a pretty awesome experience, and you get to share a little piece of that history. But this road lives in infamy as well, and it's known for its wrecks and sometimes the loss of motorcyclists that we sometimes have. And I'm going to talk about the latest one that I know of, and I also want to talk about some things that you can do to prepare yourself before you go to the tail, and one big risk that we all take when you ride this route. I want you to be aware of this. If you've never been, maybe you've been 100 times, hopefully there will be information in here that you can use and that will better prepare you. And of course, I want to hear your opinion down below. Whatever you think, you agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. Make sure you leave those after the video. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. Let's go and get into it. Now, Ken Hicks is the most recent rider that I know that has lost his life on the tail. And out of respect for his family, I'm not going to be talking about some of the details that I know. But either way, there are things you can do in preparation. And this is just, you know, hopefully a wake-up call. Because there's been people that say, oh, we need to close down the tail of the dragon. You know, just shut it down altogether. And I don't think any rider would ever want to see that road closed down. But there are some things that you can do in preparation before you go here. And I think one of the most important things is bringing a friend with you. Remember, some of these drop-offs, you know, you're changing elevation as you go throughout, right? Some of these drop-offs are over 100 feet down, maybe more. So it's not always going to be so apparent and obvious that a biker just went off the road. And if you're by yourself, unless you've told somebody beforehand, or unless you have some kind of GPS tracking device maybe on your phone or on your bike, who's going to know that you ever went down? Nobody's going to be looking down there because people are so concentrated on the road itself. So make sure that whatever you do, bring somebody along with you. Somebody that can watch your back. Somebody on another bike preferably too. Bringing a passenger is fine, and that's a great experience for them. But if you both go down off the edge of one of these very steep cliffs, well, now you just have two people that are unable to be found. So preferably somebody on another bike. Maybe bringing a few buddies and actually, you know, making this a whole experience. You can do the tail of the dragon, then the back of the dragon, and there's so many different roads that you can actually do up there. You can get a lot of riding done in just a short amount of time. So it is definitely a trip worth taking. Just make sure that you bring somebody along with you. Another thing is when you go, right? If you pick Saturday and Sunday during the day, it's going to be busy, right? That's when most people are off of work and they can enjoy this road. So in order to maybe cut down on some of the anxiety of other riders coming up behind you, riders that know the road maybe better, or riders that are more careless than you, you're going to run into all these types of people on the weekends. So if possible, schedule it sometime during the week. Another thing to know is weather patterns. So you want to make sure that you're looking out for stuff like this, right? When we went, the roads were a little bit wet. It wasn't actively raining when we were on the tail, but weather changes up there all the time. It seems like every time I go to the mountains, there's always some kind of pop-up storm that happens, and then it just kind of goes away. So it is something that you not only want to be prepared for with your rain gear, but more importantly, knowing that, hey, these are things that you can run into. Putting a little bit of Rain-X on your visor is a super easy way to protect yourself from, you know, not being able to see. Of course, having pin lock so you can keep down some of the fog. And what I typically do is I'll keep it actually, my visor, I'll just kind of push it up just a little bit so that way, you know, it's not going to fog up as much, but a little bit of Rain-X. Heck, I've even seen some windshield wipers for your visor on your helmet. Now, I don't know how good these things work. I've never used them before, but you know, that's an option too, I think. Regardless, be aware of certain weather patterns, and also being aware of the types of turns you're going to run into, right? Taking your time. If you've never been there before, you don't really know what to expect. Watching a video like this or anybody else's is going to give you some things to prepare for, but you're not going to know everything until you actually get on the road and see what these curves are all about. And I found that it was a much more enjoyable road than what I was thinking. I'm somebody that is from the South where everything we ride on is just flat, straight land, right? So getting used to some of these curvy roads, it takes you a little while, right? And I don't mind taking my time, and I've become more comfortable with leaning the motorcycle. And heck, some of these curves and stuff, you're gonna find you have to trust your tires, right? And that's another big thing, just trusting your tires are gonna do what they need to do, but you also have to trust in them to do the job, right? You don't want to try to be countering what the bike is intended to do. And you know, that's another thing, man, is just knowing the limitations of your motorcycle before you go. If you're on a cruiser, obviously we have less lean angle, so we have less to play with. We've all seen those videos of cruiser riders just tearing the tail of the Dragon up, right? They're almost like sport bike riders on this road. It's really impressive, actually, but you got to know your limitations and the limitations of your motorcycle. If you consistently ride with somebody that is pushing their limits and you find yourself pushing your limits to keep up with them, or going beyond your limits even, this is not the road you want to do that on, right? So maybe bring a slower friend with you when you go to the tail. That may be the best route because you do not want to push or really even exceed your limits on a road like this. Now, it's okay to push yourself, right? And to gain more skill and get more skillful on your motorcycle. I totally 100% think that is something you should do, but exceeding your limits on a road like this, definitely not something I recommend. But here's something that not a lot of people talk about, and that is the wildlife, right? If you get yourself caught into a situation where your motorcycle lands on top of you, you're unable to move, you don't have that friend with you, and you break a leg, right? Or even worse, you break both legs, and you're unable to get your 800-900 pound cruiser off of you, well, guess what? This is bear country. There are animals out there that will, unfortunately, take advantage of you, right? So that is something that you absolutely want to keep in mind. And I say that out of respect for anybody that's been in that situation, but also hopefully as even a bigger stark reminder to bring a friend with you, bring somebody that can help, or at least can call for help. Because that's the other thing that almost, I mean, some people talk about, but I don't know if it's talked about enough. You are 1 hour away, at least, from any kind of help. So let's say you did bring a friend, they get, I think it's Blount County up there, they get them there as quickly as possible. There's a helicopter pad next to the Harley shop right there. Guess what, dude? You are 1 hour away from any kind of help. That is the best case scenario. So again, it is a reminder that taking your time, learning the road, knowing your skills, knowing your motorcycle, making sure that motorcycle is well prepped and the tires are in good shape, knowing the weather patterns, knowing your skill level and staying within it are so important on a road like this. And make sure you bring a friend along. That is one, even two, of the biggest hazards on the tail of the Dragon that not a lot of people talk about. And of course, I want to hear from y'all, man. If you've been on the tail of the Dragon once, maybe you've been on it 100 times, maybe you're going on your first trip. Let me know some of these things that may have helped you or some things that you're prepping for to go on the tail. And again, this is with all due respect to Ken Hicks and his family, and I'm going to leave their GoFundMe in the description of this video. That will be linked down below. So big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.